The planet Zarion glowed under the light of its twin suns, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. Massive towers of crystal and metal pierced the clouds, a city built by beings far more advanced than humans. The alien queen Lysera ruled this world with grace, intelligence, and an iron will. Her people, tall and regal with shimmering skin and glowing eyes, respected her power and feared her when necessary. In the sky above the city, a human shuttle approached. It was small compared to the alien crafts, yet it carried a confidence that only humans seemed to have. Captain Ryan Cole sat in the cockpit, checking the instruments and observing the alien world below. The humans had come as guests and observers, but the underlying tension was clear. Zarion had never dealt with humans before, and its citizens did not hide their doubt. Ryan had prepared for this mission for months. He knew the aliens would underestimate him, that they would judge him for being human. But he had learned long ago that appearances could be deceiving. What humans lacked in height, strength, or advanced alien technology, they often made up for with adaptability and quick thinking. Ryan had a plan, and he trusted his instincts. When the shuttle landed in the main courtyard of the palace, Ryan was met by a delegation of Lysera's council. Their eyes, large and luminous, studied him with curiosity and caution. They spoke a language foreign to him, but the translator in his suit rendered it instantly into words he could understand. "Human," said one of the counselors, a tall figure with silver markings on her skin. "You arrive at a time of tension. Your people are new to Zarion. You must prove your intentions are honorable." Ryan nodded calmly. "I come as a guest. My people wish to understand your world, not to conquer it." His voice was steady, carrying a calm that impressed even the wary counselors. They led him through corridors of shimmering crystal, past statues of past rulers and images of great battles. Every step reminded him that he was far from Earth in a world of power and mystery. Finally, they arrived in a grand hall where Lysera herself waited. The alien queen was taller than any human, with eyes that glowed like molten gold. Her posture was perfect, regal, and commanding. She studied Ryan carefully, her gaze sharp as a blade. "So this is the human they sent," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "You enter my world untested. What makes you think you deserve my trust?" Ryan met her gaze without flinching. "Because I have faced challenges greater than appearances suggest, and because I am willing to work with you, not against you." Lysera's lips curved slightly, almost a smile. Bold words for one so small. Her people were not cruel, but they valued strength, intelligence, and courage above all. She would judge Ryan carefully. Before any further conversation could take place, an alarm rang throughout the palace. The crystal walls vibrated as an emergency message flashed in the air. A rogue faction of aliens, long thought defeated, had attacked the outer settlements. Entire villages were under siege. Lysera's eyes narrowed. "This is what I feared. Our enemies have returned, and they do not care for diplomacy. Human," she said, turning to Ryan, "if you are to prove yourself, now is the time." Ryan did not hesitate. He followed her out into the open, where a fleet of alien ships was preparing for battle. The rogue faction's vessels were dark, jagged, and aggressive, a sharp contrast to the sleek elegance of Zarion's defenders. In the sky, Ryan observed patterns, movement, and strategy. "We can create a perimeter here," he suggested, pointing to a narrow canyon outside the city. "It will slow their advance and give your forces an advantage." Lysera looked surprised. Her advisors murmured among themselves, a human giving tactical advice. One whispered, "Yes," Ryan said calmly. "I've led men in situations like this before. I know how to turn odds into advantage." Lysera studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. We will follow your suggestion. Lead us, human." The battle began in the narrow canyon. Alien soldiers and humans moved together, fighting against the rogue faction's sudden and violent attacks. Ryan worked alongside Lysera, giving orders, repositioning forces, and directing energy cannons with precision. Even from the first moments, his adaptability impressed the Zarion warriors. He anticipated enemy movements, redirected attacks, and never hesitated. Lysera watched closely, her initial doubt giving way to cautious respect. At one point, a rogue cruiser broke through the defenses and threatened a nearby village. Without hesitation, Ryan leaped into action. Using a human-designed maneuver combined with the alien technology, he redirected the cruiser into the canyon, where the defenders easily contained it. Lysera's eyes widened. She had expected humans to be fragile, limited, and unprepared for the scale of Xerion's conflicts. Yet here was one human, smaller and seemingly ordinary, directing the battle with skill, calmness, and courage that rivaled her own commanders. After hours of fighting, the rogue forces retreated. The villagers were safe and the immediate threat was neutralized. Lysera descended from her command platform, approaching Ryan directly. Her glowing eyes studied him carefully, searching for weakness, but she found none. "You did well," she said simply. It was not praise given lightly. In her world, such acknowledgement was rare and meaningful. "You're more capable than I imagined." Ryan smiled faintly. "I told you appearances can be deceiving." For the first time, Lysera considered the humans differently. She had married for political reasons, expecting a human to be limited, dependent, and perhaps fragile. But Ryan had shown skill, courage, and intelligence beyond her expectations. His calm under pressure, his willingness to risk himself to save others, and his clear thinking had earned her respect. As night fell, the twin moons rose over the city, casting silver light across the crystal towers. The streets were filled with citizens emerging from hiding, cheering for their defenders. Ryan walked beside Lysera as she observed the city, no words needed between them. "This human," one of her advisors whispered to another, "may be more than he seems." Lysera did not respond immediately. She kept her focus on Ryan, thinking of the possibilities. If humans could wield such courage and intelligence in battle, what other hidden strengths might they possess? Ryan, meanwhile, considered the challenges ahead. This was only the beginning. The rogue faction had retreated, but they would return stronger, and the city's people needed a leader who could combine alien strength and human ingenuity. He would continue to prove that humans were more than their appearance. He would show that they could be essential, respected, and even powerful allies in a universe that underestimated them. As they returned to the palace, Lysera invited Ryan to join her for counsel. "You will stay in the court," she said. "Not as a guest, but as a participant. Your insight may be valuable in the days to come." Ryan nodded, aware of the opportunity and the challenge. He had entered a world of alien splendor, politics, and power, and he had already made a mark. But he knew that to truly earn respect and to survive, he would need to do more than prove his courage in battle. He would need to show his mind, his heart, and perhaps something even more extraordinary. Lysera watched him closely, curiosity and caution warring in her mind. She had expected a human to be limited, yet he had already surpassed her expectations. What other surprises might this human hold? The night deepened over Xerion, but for the first time there was a spark of hope. An alliance had begun, fragile yet promising. And in the quiet of the palace, the human and the alien queen shared a silent understanding. The universe was larger and more complex than either had imagined, and together, they might shape its future in ways no one else could. The morning sun spilled golden light over Xerion's crystal towers, reflecting off streets that were slowly coming back to life after the rogue attack. Citizens emerged cautiously from their homes, glancing at the sky for any sign of danger. The battle had left the city shaken, but it had also revealed something remarkable. Humans, once underestimated, could be surprisingly capable. Captain Ryan Cole walked through the courtyard, observing the soldiers' training, the citizens repairing damage, and the alien council discussing strategies. He was not merely a visitor. He was now part of the planning, part of the effort to ensure Xerion's safety. Lysera approached him, her regal presence unmistakable. "The rogue faction will not remain defeated for long," she said, her eyes scanning the horizon. "They will return stronger and more prepared. You may have saved lives yesterday, human, but the real test is still ahead." Ryan nodded. "I understand. And I intend to be ready." Lysera's eyebrow lifted. "I did not expect a human to speak with such confidence. You have not yet revealed the full extent of your abilities, have you?" Ryan hesitated briefly, knowing that what he possessed was different. It was not common weaponry or advanced alien technology. It was something innate, something that responded to human willpower. He had barely begun to explore it, and its full potential was unknown even to him. "I have some unusual skills," he admitted carefully. "But I prefer to rely on strategy first. Power without control can be dangerous." Lysera studied him, intrigued. Humans were often considered weak, but his calm and thoughtful approach suggested intelligence beyond instinct. Perhaps there was more to them than her people had assumed. Over the next days, Ryan attended council meetings and observed the training of Xerion's elite guard. He noticed inefficiencies in their methods, gaps in communication, and a lack of adaptability to unpredictable scenarios. "You focus too much on routine," he told the commanders during a training session. "If an enemy acts differently than expected, your strategies fail. You must learn to respond, not just follow instructions." The commanders exchanged uneasy glances. To be corrected by a human was unusual, yet Ryan demonstrated his points with precision. He simulated attacks, moved forces strategically, and anticipated responses with uncanny accuracy. Lysera watched quietly, impressed despite herself. She had married him out of political necessity, expecting a fragile and ordinary human. Yet here he was, analyzing, instructing, and guiding her forces with intelligence and calm that rivaled her best generals. That evening, Ryan walked alone in the gardens of the palace. The twin moons reflected off the fountains and crystalline plants, creating patterns of silver and violet light. The quiet was deceptive. He sensed something stirring deep within him. A small pulse of energy, barely noticeable, radiated from his hands when he touched the crystal walls. It was his hidden power, a force that could influence matter and energy in subtle ways. But he had to be careful. Using it too openly could frighten or anger the aliens. Lysera appeared at his side without a sound. "You feel it, do you not?" she asked, her voice soft but serious. Ryan nodded. "I do. It is different from anything I've ever known. It reacts to my intent. I think it could be useful, but I need to understand it better first." Lysera studied him. "Your people are underestimated because of appearances, but perhaps there is more to humans than I thought. You may hold the key to our survival against the rogue faction." The following days were filled with training and preparation. Ryan worked closely with Lysera, helping her elite guard develop strategies that combined Xerion's strength with human adaptability. He suggested drills that forced soldiers to think quickly, make independent decisions, and adapt to unexpected attacks. During one exercise, a group of trainees struggled to hold a defensive position against simulated attackers. Ryan noticed a flaw in their formation. Without hesitation, he leapt into the field, moving with speed and precision, demonstrating the correct positioning and coordination. His actions were fluid, almost instinctive, and the trainees followed his lead. Lysera watched from the observation platform, astonished. "He moves with such ease," she whispered to one of her advisors. "A human demonstrating command and skill like this. It is almost beyond belief." Ryan returned to the council chamber, his expression calm but determined. "The rogue faction will strike again. We need contingency plans for every scenario. Flexibility is our greatest strength." One of the counselors, a tall alien with silver markings, frowned. "And what of your abilities? You have not yet demonstrated them in full." Ryan hesitated. "I will when necessary. I must understand the consequences first. My power can be unpredictable, and I cannot risk harming allies or innocent people." Lysera's gaze lingered on him. She could see the restraint, the intelligence, and the courage in him. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but perhaps that unpredictability was exactly what made them formidable. Then, a message arrived from the outer settlements. Scout ships reported movement, large, coordinated movements of the rogue faction. They were preparing another attack, more extensive than before. The city needed every advantage it could muster. Lysera called an emergency meeting. "We must be ready," she said. "The rogue faction is returning. They will strike where we are weakest. Human, your insight may be our greatest asset." Ryan studied the data, his mind analyzing patterns, timelines, and strategies. "We cannot simply wait for them to attack," he said. "We must anticipate their moves, set traps, and use the terrain to our advantage. If we control the battlefield, we control the outcome." Lysera nodded slowly. "And what of your power? Will you use it? Ryan considered the question. He had trained his mind and body, but this power was different. It was connected to something deeper within him, something that required focus, will, and responsibility. I will, if necessary, he replied, but only in a way that ensures the safety of our people. The council debated strategies late into the night, and Ryan contributed ideas that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. His presence was no longer seen as a novelty. He was a valued strategist, someone who could think differently and act decisively. As the meeting ended, Lysera approached him privately. You have impressed me, human, she said, not only with your skills but with your mind, your calm, and your courage. I expected a weak ally, someone to be guided. Yet you may be indispensable. Ryan smiled faintly. I appreciate your trust, but trust is earned, not given. I will continue to prove myself every day if necessary. Lysera studied him, her thoughts complex. She had ruled with confidence, yet this human challenged her assumptions. He was not just a guest, not just a diplomat. He was a force of possibility. And she wondered quietly what other strengths he might reveal when the true battle came. Over the next few days, Ryan spent time training with Lysera and her guards, refining strategies and quietly exploring his abilities. He learned to focus his energy, to sense subtle shifts in the environment, and to test the limits of his power without drawing attention. Small displays of skill surprised even Lysera at times. A flicker of energy here, a precise action there. But he remained careful, never revealing his full potential. By the end of Part 2, the bond between Ryan and Lysera had begun to deepen. It was built not on politics or convenience, but on respect, trust, and the recognition of capability. The human, once underestimated, was proving that he was far more than his appearance suggested. The rogue faction was preparing to strike again, larger and more dangerous than ever. And Ryan knew that when that moment came, he would have to unleash everything he had learned, and perhaps reveal a power that even the alien queen could not have imagined. The stage was set, the alliance had begun, and the universe would soon see that humans, though small in stature, could possess strength, courage, and skill that even the greatest alien powers could not ignore. The skies above Zarion turned dark. Heavy clouds rolled in thick with the charge of battle. The rogue faction had returned, stronger, faster, and far more ruthless. Their ships, black and jagged like blades, filled the sky with shadows. The once bright towers of the capital shimmered under the threat of destruction. Ryan stood on the command balcony beside Queen Lysera, watching the incoming fleet. The entire city was preparing for war. Energy barriers rose from the palace walls, soldiers lined the streets, and defense turrets powered up one by one. Lysera's voice was steady, but her expression was grim. They come for the throne. They will not stop until the city burns. Ryan's eyes focused on the approaching ships. Then we'll make sure they don't get that far. Lysera turned toward him, studying the calmness on his face. You speak with such confidence, human. Do you truly believe we can win this? Ryan nodded. We've faced worse odds before. The difference is, this time you're not fighting alone. The air was filled with the sound of engines and the glow of plasma fire as the rogue ships began their assault. Explosions lit up the sky like firestorms. The city trembled under the first wave of attacks. Zarion's defense forces responded with precision, but the enemy numbers were overwhelming. From the control room, Ryan coordinated defenses. Redirect shields to the northern tower, he ordered. If they break through there, the palace will be exposed. The alien commanders obeyed without hesitation. They had learned to trust the human's judgment. His quick thinking and ability to read the battlefield had already saved lives before, and now every second mattered. Lysera's generals moved according to his instructions, forming a coordinated defense that blended human strategy with alien technology. The city's cannons roared and defensive drones flew into the air, intercepting missiles. But the rogue faction had new weapons, massive war machines that tore through shields like paper. One by one, outer defenses began to fail. Panic started to spread among the soldiers. Ryan clenched his fists. If we lose those outer towers, we'll lose control of the city grid. He turned to Lysera. I need to go out there. Lysera frowned. Out there? It's suicide. Maybe, Ryan said quietly. But if we don't stop them now, they'll destroy everything. For a brief moment, Lysera hesitated. Then she nodded. Very well. I will not stop you. But you will not go alone. She signaled her elite guard. Protect him with your lives. Ryan smiled faintly. You might be surprised, Your Majesty. I can protect myself. He ran toward the launch platform and boarded a light attack craft. As the engines roared to life, he felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. The skies were filled with chaos, bright explosions, falling debris, and the cries of battle echoing through the air. His ship shot upward, weaving between enemy fire. Focus on the lead vessel, he shouted through the communicator. Take out their command ship and the rest will scatter. Lysera watched from the palace as Ryan's small craft darted through the enemy lines like a streak of silver light. He moved with precision, avoiding heavy blasts and countering with his own. But then something unexpected happened. A massive energy surge from the enemy flagship hit his craft directly. The explosion lit up the sky and the palace balcony trembled. Lysera's heart froze. Ryan! She called through the communicator, but there was no response. Smoke filled the sky and debris rained down. For a few terrible moments it seemed the human had been lost. Then through the smoke a bright blue light appeared. It grew stronger, spreading outward like a wave. From within the wreckage Ryan emerged. Not in his ship, but standing on the ground below, surrounded by an aura of energy. His eyes glowed faintly, his body alive with power. Lysera stared in disbelief. What is this? She whispered. The air around Ryan shimmered as energy pulsed from his hands. He could feel it, the same force he had tried to keep hidden. Now it flowed freely, responding to his determination. He raised his hand toward the sky, and the energy shaped itself into a shield that blocked the next volley of enemy fire. The soldiers on the ground gasped. The human... He's controlling energy, one shouted. Ryan stepped forward, focusing his will. His power spread outward in waves, striking enemy drones and ships with precision. Each motion of his hand sent a pulse that cut through metal and energy barriers alike. He wasn't destroying mindlessly. He was guiding every strike, every defense, every movement as if he had trained for it all his life. Lysera's commanders were speechless. He's not using any of our technology, one said quietly. That power, it's his own. Lysera could barely believe what she was seeing. The man she had once doubted, the human she thought fragile, was standing on the battlefield like a force of nature. Every time he moved, the tide of battle shifted. As the rogue forces pushed forward, Ryan met them head-on. He leapt onto one of their massive war machines, tearing through the cockpit with a surge of blue light. The machine exploded, but the energy around him shielded him from the blast. When the next wave came, he raised both hands, channeling pure energy into the air. Lightning-like arcs spread across the battlefield, disabling enemy ships one after another. From the palace balcony, Lysera could only watch, her golden eyes wide. Impossible, she whispered. No being has ever controlled power like this, not even among my people. Her generals looked to her for orders, but she was silent. For the first time, the Queen of Zerion was speechless. On the battlefield, Ryan's strength began to fade slightly, but his determination held firm. He directed the remaining defenders to regroup and press the advantage. Now, he shouted, push forward! Don't let them recover. The defenders surged ahead, inspired by his courage. Even the rogue soldiers began to falter, unsure how to fight against a human who glowed like living energy. Hours passed, and finally, the last of the rogue fleet retreated into the distant sky. The city fell silent except for the sound of victory chants rising from the streets. Ryan stood in the ruins, exhausted but alive. The blue energy slowly faded, leaving only faint traces around him. His armor was scorched, his body trembling from the effort, but his eyes remained calm. Lysera descended from the palace, walking toward him through the smoke and dust. Her guards followed at a distance, unsure what to say. When she reached him, she stopped a few steps away, staring at him as if she was seeing him for the first time. You are not just human, she said softly. Ryan gave a tired smile. I'm as human as they come. Maybe it's just time you all see what that really means. For a long moment, Lysera said nothing. She could only stare, shocked, amazed, and humbled all at once. The power he had shown was beyond anything her scientists or warriors could understand. Yet he had used it not for dominance but to protect, to defend, to save her people. As medics and soldiers gathered around, Lysera finally spoke, her voice steady again. "You have done more than any being could have. Today Zarion stands because of you." Ryan shook his head. "Zarion stands because we fought together. This wasn't just me, it was everyone." But deep down, Lysera knew the truth. Without him, without his hidden strength, they would have fallen. That night, as the stars returned to the quiet sky, the entire planet celebrated victory. But in the palace, Lysera sat alone thinking. Her mind replayed the moment she saw the human unleash that power. The light, the control, the unshakable will. For the first time, she felt something she had not felt in years: awe. And as she looked out the window at the city that now glowed peacefully, she whispered softly to herself, "What are you, Ryan Cole?" The battle-scarred plains of Velora were quiet now, the kind of silence that comes only after great storms. Smoke curled from shattered towers and molten craters, still glowing faintly from the energy that had been unleashed. Above the ruins, a faint shimmer in the air slowly dissolved, the last remnants of Ethan's unleashed power. Queen Seraphine stood motionless, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. Her royal armor, once shining with alien gold, was now cracked and scorched. Around her, soldiers of her kind knelt in fear or awe, staring at the human they once mocked. The man they believed weak, fragile, and undeserving of their queen. Ethan stood in the center of the devastation. His hands trembled slightly as he looked at the destruction around him. His eyes still glowed faintly with the blue fire of whatever ancient energy had burst from within him. The power had come like a storm, wild, unstoppable, and alive. He didn't know if it was a weapon, a hidden gift, or something he was never meant to touch. Seraphine took a slow step forward. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. He turned his head, his expression calm but distant, as if he was still trying to understand what had happened. "I didn't mean to," he started, but his words broke off when he saw her eyes. She wasn't afraid. She was amazed. "You destroyed the entire Legion," she said softly. "In seconds. No weapon could have done that. No mortal could have stood against them." He shook his head. "I didn't destroy them on purpose. They were going to kill you. I couldn't let that happen." For a long time, she just looked at him. The alien queen who had once commanded empires, who had faced assassins and rebellions, now stood speechless before the human she thought she understood. The wind carried the ash around them as she approached slowly, until she was close enough to see the exhaustion behind his glowing eyes. "You risked everything for me," she whispered. Ethan gave a faint, tired smile. That's what humans do when they love someone. Her breath caught. For all her power, all her titles, she had never heard those words said like that before. Not as a duty, not as an oath, but as something deeply human. Something pure and fierce at the same time. Suddenly, the ground rumbled. The remains of the alien citadel trembled as a massive shadow appeared in the clouds above. A huge ship, larger than any Seraphine had seen, descended, its cannons glowing with power. "The High Council," Seraphine murmured. "They've come for us." Ethan looked up. "Your people?" Her face darkened. "Not mine anymore. They will call you a threat to the galaxy. They will call me a traitor for protecting you." Ethan stepped closer to her. "Then we'll face them together." Before she could answer, a booming voice echoed from the ship above. "Surrender the human, Seraphine of Velora. The Council has declared him an anomaly too dangerous to exist." The Queen straightened, her armor's light flickering faintly. "Tell the Council," she said, her voice cold and proud, "that I no longer serve them." There was a pause, then the sky filled with the blinding light of charging weapons. Seraphine turned to Ethan. "You can't fight again," she said. "Your power, if you release it again, it might destroy everything, even you." Ethan looked at her, his face calm. "Maybe, but I won't let them take you." For a moment, she wanted to stop him, to protect him the way he had protected her. But as the thunder of the Council's fleet grew louder, she realized something. Ethan wasn't fighting for conquest. He was fighting for her. The ships opened fire. Bolts of plasma rained down, exploding across the battlefield. Seraphine raised her energy barrier, but the force was too strong. The shield cracked, light spilling through. And then Ethan stepped forward again. He closed his eyes. The blue fire returned, brighter than before. Energy rippled across his skin like lightning, but this time it didn't feel uncontrolled. It felt guided, almost aware. He spread his hands and the air shimmered around him, forming a sphere of light. The next wave of plasma hit and vanished into the glow. Seraphine gasped as the light expanded outward, swallowing the blasts, bending the sky itself. When the energy cleared, the massive council fleet hovered powerless. Their weapons melted. Their engines flickered out. Ethan looked up, his voice steady but resonant. No more wars. No more blood. Something ancient stirred in his words. The ship stopped firing. Across the communication network, silence fell. On the command deck of the lead ship, the council leader, a tall alien with crystalline skin, stared at the readings in disbelief. Impossible, he whispered. No being can rewrite matter like that. Down below, Seraphine stepped beside Ethan, her hand brushing his arm. His body was trembling again, weaker now. She could feel his strength fading. Ethan, stop. You've done enough. He turned to her, his eyes dimming. If I stop, they'll attack again. Then let them attack me, she said. I am their queen no longer, but I am still their voice. I will stand before them. She reached up, touching his cheek gently. You've already shown them who you are. Now let me show them who I've become. Ethan hesitated, then nodded slowly. The glow around him faded, the blue energy dissolving into faint sparks that drifted away into the wind. Seraphine rose into the air, her wings of light unfolding behind her, a power she had long hidden. She projected her voice to the ships above. You see this human as a threat because you fear what you cannot control. But I have seen his heart. He saved not only me but your world. Without him, the council would already be ash. The council hesitated. Then slowly, the massive ship began to back away. One by one, the others followed until the sky cleared once more. When Seraphine landed, she found Ethan kneeling, breathing hard. She hurried to him, catching him before he fell. Hey, he said weakly, smiling. Guess I overdid it. She smiled through her tears. You foolish human, he chuckled softly. You married me. That makes you foolish too. They both laughed, tired but alive. Around them, the light of dawn began to break over the shattered world. The air smelled of rain and renewal. Seraphine looked at him, her expression softening. The galaxy will never be the same after this. Ethan nodded. Good. Maybe it's time it learned something new, what it means to be human. She rested her forehead against his, and what it means to love one. As the first sun rose over Velora, the human and the alien queen stood together among the ruins, symbols of a new era. Where once there was fear, now there was hope. Where once there was war, now there was a beginning. And far above them in the silent halls of the retreating council, a single message was transmitted across the stars. The human is not a weapon. He is the future. The universe would remember that day, the day a fragile human unleashed his hidden power, not to conquer, but to protect, and the queen who once ruled galaxies would remember forever. The moment she realized that love could be stronger than any empire. Because when Ethan unleashed his true power, it wasn't destruction the queen saw. It was humanity, burning bright enough to change the stars themselves.